Well, good afternoon, everyone. I'm here with the Illinois Department of Transportation Secretary Omar Osman, with Illinois State Police Director Brendan Kelly, with Illinois Emergency Management Agency Deputy Director Scott Swinford, and Illinois National Guard Adjutant General Rich Neely. Today and through the week, the majority of Illinois will see increasingly severe weather events, with central Illinois experiencing possibly up to 20 inches of snow, blizzard-like conditions, and even whiteout conditions on some roadways. West central Illinois up into Chicago metro area are under a winter storm warning. Heavy rain in southern Illinois could lead to a risk of flooding. Once this system exits the region, cold air and fresh snow cover will likely result in below zero temperatures for some parts of the state by Friday morning. Given the extent of the possible impact, I'm authorizing a disaster proclamation for Winter Storm Landon, effective immediately, to support local government disaster response and recovery operations wherever necessary. I want to assure county and local officials and everyone in the path of the storm that my administration will provide resources every step of the way. On the ground, all state assets stand ready to assist. Our Department of Transportation road crews will be out there clearing the roads for those who must drive, but I strongly encourage you to stay off the roads unless absolutely necessary. Statewide, we have more than 1,800 trucks and plow equipment ready to go. IEMA continues to work directly with local officials to actively monitor storm impacts throughout the state. That includes coordinating with utility companies to ensure that power is restored quickly should any parts of the state lose electricity in the storms. And over 100 of our Illinois National Guard are on standby to provide the hundreds of state police with operational support to help any stranded motorists. In short, the team that stands next to me to my right and their counterparts across the state government will be working day and night to provide help to Illinoisans throughout the state. I also want to encourage everyone to do what you can to keep yourselves and your loved ones safe. First and foremost, listen to local authorities to stay up to date with the latest conditions in your community. Conditions can change rapidly, and it's important to stay up to date as the situation evolves in your area. At home, make sure that your household has the essentials: food, water, medicine. Keep any mobile devices charged in case of power outages so that you can tune in to local emergency official broadcasts and stay in contact with others. Do not travel or drive if you can avoid doing so. And if you must, drive slow and allow plenty of space between you and other drivers. Keep blankets and shovels in your trunk in case of emergency, and be sure to have a full tank of gas. And lastly, as temperatures plummet, limit your time outside, and that includes your pets. Wherever you are, know that you are not alone. We are ready to assist anyone in any community that is in need. We are one Illinois. With that, I'd like to ask our IEMA Deputy Director, Scott Swinford, to provide further details about our storm preparations. Scott?
Thank you, sir. Good afternoon. I'm Scott Swinford, the Deputy Director here at the Illinois Emergency Management Agency, and I welcome everybody here today. IEMA has been in constant contact with all of our local emergency management agency partners across the state. Together we work to assess the challenges faced in the state and any individual communities, and identify early any shortfalls that we might have to overcome as the disaster unfolds. IEMA's mission is to provide the real-time coordination of all state capabilities and resources necessary to provide synergized approach to meet the emergency needs of the state. IAM has been coordinating for days with the National Weather Service offices throughout the state and with several emergency management or emergency partners, many of those that are going to speak today. The State Illinois Emergency Operations Center will open today at 5 o'clock and begin the execution of this mission. And with that, I'll be followed by the Secretary of Transportation, Omar Osman.
Good afternoon, everyone. And Governor, as always, we appreciate your leadership, especially in times like this. I'd like to point out our Bureau Chief of Operation for IDOT, Amy Eller, who's with us today. Thank you for what you do, and thank you to your staff and for your dedication. I also wish to extend my gratitude and that of the entire team at the Illinois Department of Transportation to our partners at IEMA, the Illinois State Police, the Illinois National Guard, and other state and local agencies. At IDOT, we spend the entire year preparing for a snow and ice season and getting ready for major events like the one coming our way. We will have all our available employees, equipment in our forces, plowing and treating roads. But we truly need the public's cooperation to keep everyone safe. Because of the intensity and the amount of snow expected, travel will be dangerous and strongly discouraged. Always remember, during extreme weather, the safest option is to stay home. A simple question to ask yourself the next several days is this trip I am about to make truly necessary, or can it be postponed? Due to the expected long duration of the storm, IDOT and the traveling public will be challenged for several days. Even after the snow stops falling, sustained high winds could create blizzard-like conditions with little to no visibility, especially in rural and outlying areas. Severe cold later in the week will reduce the effectiveness of the material used to treat the roads. While roads might appear to be fine where you start your trip, they could change quickly during your travel. Because of the challenges of staffing a prolonged winter weather event, we are asking the public to remain patient, prepare for longer travel times to persist for much of the week. Snow and ice response and cleanup effort could potentially last several days. A few tips if you are absolutely must be on the road. At all times, if you encounter a plow or any emergency vehicle on the road, please slow down, increase your driving distance, and remain patient. Do not attempt to pass. Conditions in front of the plow will be worse than behind it. Keep a safe following distance at all times and watch out for pedestrians. Always wear a seat belt. Never get behind the wheel impaired. And bookmark and regularly visit gettingaroundillinois.com for the latest road condition. We are no stranger to winter weather in Illinois. Teamwork and coordinated response are critical. Cooperation and patience will be essential to keeping everyone safe the next several days. Thank you again, Governor, for making sure we all have the resources we need and helping to protect the public. And with that, I would like to introduce the Director of the Illinois State Police, Brendan Kelly. Director.
Good afternoon, and thank you, Governor. As we prepare for the winter weather being predicted by the National Weather Service in the coming days, the Illinois State Police are advising motorists to take the necessary precautions before getting behind the wheel. Some of this will be repeating what all of us are saying here, but it's worth repeating because of how important the circumstances are. Plan ahead and check the forecast. Determine if the trip is absolutely necessary during inclement weather. Don't crowd the plow. Remember, a snowplow operator's field of vision is restricted. You may see them, but they may not see you. Watch out for icy roads. Roads that appear clear may be actually treacherous. Take it slow when approaching intersections, off-ramps, bridges, and shady areas. All are prone to icy road conditions without appearing to be icy. Always keep your gas tank at least half full in case your car becomes disabled or is involved in a crash. Having enough gas in your tank means you can keep your car and your heater on until first responders can get to you. Dress warm enough for the outside temperatures. Dress in warm layers in anticipation of the unexpected winter weather, emergencies requiring you to leave the warmth and safety of your vehicle. Make sure someone is aware of your travel route. Always carry an emergency car care kit that contains jumper cables, flares or reflectors, windshield washer fluid, a small ice scraper, traction material, blankets, non-perishable food, and a first aid kit. Always carry a charged cell phone and keep a charger on hand. Always wear a seatbelt. If you should lose control and slide off the roadway, please stay in your car with your seatbelt on. The same reason that caused you to lose control may cause other motorists to do the same. If you're outside of your vehicle, other sliding vehicles could strike you as a pedestrian. Don't forget about the move over law, Scott's law, which is near and dear to the Illinois State Police and every other first responder who's going to be out there helping the public. That law requires drivers to change lanes when approaching stationary emergency vehicles, including tow trucks, highway maintenance vehicles displaying flashing lights, and any stationary vehicle with their hazard lights that are activated. The law also states if changing would be impossible or unsafe, drivers are required to proceed with due caution, reduce the speed of the vehicle, and leave a safe distance until safely able to pass a stationary vehicle. As you heard from Secretary Osman, and to reiterate its importance, motorists should make highly informed decisions on whether that travel is important. If you don't have to go out in this weather, stay at home. This will free up state resources to handle emergency calls, and we're going to be getting those emergency calls. Our number one mission during this storm will be to respond to motorists in the need of assistance. The public and our officers' safety will be top priority. Officers in districts not being severely affected by winter weather will be assisting adjoining districts, and hours may be adjusted to and extended dependent upon the need. The men and women of the Illinois State Police stand ready to face the challenges Mother Nature has in store, and like always, we will rise to the occasion. The Illinois National Guard will also be standing with us as a force multiplier in this circumstance. With their assistance, service to the public can be greatly augmented and will reduce first responder response times out to stranded motorists. 7 teams of these brave soldiers will be scattered across Illinois State Police Districts 9, headquartered in Springfield, District 10 in Pasodum, District 18 in Litchfield, District 20 in Pittsfield, and District 21 in Ashcombe to support the Illinois State Police mission. From the Joint Operations Center, the Illinois State Police and other state agencies will be constantly monitoring the progress and impacts of the storm, and will have the ability to easily shift our teams north or south depending upon the storm's track and impact. Now, here to talk about their response to this storm is Major General Rich Neely, the Adjutant General of Illinois, and the Commander of the Illinois National Guard. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Director Kelly, and good afternoon, everyone. And thank you for joining us today. As directed by Governor Pritzker, the Illinois National Guard began mobilizing 130 soldiers and airmen to support the Illinois State Police in assisting possible stranded motorists during this winter weather event. Our winter weather platoons will be divided up across 7 Illinois State Police districts, as Director Kelly outlined earlier, to provide strike teams for life and safety missions and to assist motorists who might become trapped on the roadways. As mentioned earlier, we ask all those traveling to get off the roads and seek shelter during this extremely hazardous weather event, and that's to ensure everyone's safety. Thank you for being here today. Now I'll ask Governor Pritzker to come back up and take a few questions. Thank you.
Happy to take any questions.
Governor, it sounds really bad. It sounds like the worst thing ever if you listen to some of the forecasts. Can you think of a comparison of something that's been this almost assuredly cataclysmic?
Well, I think I'd actually call on, if you don't mind, Scott, because he's been around for a few of these over a lot of years, so he can give you some comparisons.
Yeah, we have been through a couple of these. Most notably, 12?
2011.
11. Yeah, in 11 we went through what we called Snowmageddon at the time, and had guardsmen out there on the streets, and actually used records to have to pull from the highways to keep the motors from being stacked up. That's probably the last time that I can remember we had to do anything of that magnitude. Obviously, this is all based on a weather report, and we are working off a range. So it's possible that we get 6 inches of snow. It's possible we get 16 inches of snow, and we are planning for the worst and hoping for the best. But we'll be ready for that when it occurs.
Governor, the last time you gave a State of the State address was in person, was right before the pandemic, before the snow forecast started. What was the importance? Was there some symbol you were hoping to send the rest of the state about returning to that big in-person event?
Well, certainly I was excited to have the legislature back in and being able to speak to a live audience. Not as interesting anyway to be standing alone at the Orr building at the state fairgrounds to give my State of the State speech. But nevertheless, here we are, and what I am excited about is delivering the message, and of course it'll be delivered to the people of Illinois, and all the legislators no doubt will be tuning in.
And this will be at the Old State Capitol tonight?
That's correct, at noon tomorrow.
Was it a mistake to tie the gas tax to inflation?
No, that is actually a responsible thing to do. It should have been done back in the early 90s when the gas tax was put in place as it was. And so that's where we are. But let me be clear. Right now, because we have seen inflation flare up and because people are suffering the consequences of higher prices, I thought it was important to find different ways that we could lower the prices of all kinds of goods, including gas, including groceries, including property taxes, to deliver back to people, because we have a responsible, balanced budget, to deliver back to people the dollars that they pay into state government.
I've got an on-topic and an off-topic, Governor. If you could, first of all, with the disaster response here, how much does something like this cost? And does the declaration give more of a chance of reimbursement from the federal government, for instance?
We don't anticipate that this will be of such a nature that we would get FEMA reimbursement. It just won't be large enough, likely. And the declaration really is about making sure that we free up all the resources of state government in case they are needed. We don't want to have to, in the middle of trying to rescue people or deal with the challenges on our roads, to have to all of a sudden put a new declaration into place. So we've freed up those resources, and as you can see, we have the entire state government working to keep people safe.
And then off-topic, Republicans are saying that temporary relief is great, but they're going to be looking for permanent relief. We've got outbound migration. We've got a whole host of other issues. What's your response to offering up some permanent relief?
Well, if they'd been more responsible in their budget proposals, if they had actually done something during the leadership of the last governor to put our state budget in good working order to give us surpluses, we'd be able to do more. As it is, we're doing what we can, and it's a significant amount. It's $1 billion of tax relief for families across our state.
And Governor, you've been consistently trying to look for ways to give your taxpayers relief in Illinois. Republicans are calling this an election year gimmick, though. How do you respond to that?
Well, I look back, a few years, and you can see that that what I want to do is relieve the burden upon middle class and working class families. I've been trying to do that in every way that I can, both from a tax perspective as well as in providing real services to people that were cut off during the prior administration because of poor fiscal management. So we're making real progress finally, and it's allowing us to do things like provide tax cuts.
Governor, so part of the state might
Can I call on the Secretary of Transportation, because he's also used to doing this for 29, well, now 31 years, I think.
32 and a half, Governor. No, that's a great question. I think you might be referring to the area specifically in southern Illinois, southwest or southeast, I should say. You know, initially the crews down there out of Carbondale and out of Effingham area, for the further counties south of Effingham, they are anticipating this. Initially, if they do get rain, obviously they won't be throwing salt out there, but they anticipate the freeze over and some of the icing. That is more dangerous than the 16, 18-inch snow we're talking about, because anybody could have slipped on that and it could be fatal. We do have chemicals that we specifically use for icing condition, salt brine, calcium chloride, and each and every yard in that area is get plenty of a stockpile of those chemicals. That's what they're going to use.
Secretary,
Yeah.
can you talk about the drivers, available drivers? Are there enough out there to handle this situation?
We do. I think the governor mentioned 1,800 plows and trucks is what we have. If you look at the map, the intensity of the storm is kind of confined to the central area, and you get some areas even in southern Illinois that may not get any snow. So they'll be active, but we might be able to, if there is a need for more drivers in the major snow area, we might be able to relocate some of our own staff from southern Illinois and from the Galena and the Lake County areas.
Can you give a sense on how often sort of like the National Guard is called out for something of this matter?
Well, I think it was mentioned in the winter of 2010, 2011. The winter of 2010 going into 2011, and it's interesting to talk about that because at the time I was working out of Peoria, Illinois, and I remember us shutting the entire. We typically don't shut the interstate down, regardless, but it was one of those occasions where we actually had to shut the interstate down, not to plow, but to actually rescue people. It was a search and rescue mission. We had that many cars, sliding into the median, into the ditches and whatnot, and that's why we're repeatedly asking people to stay home for the next couple of days.
What are those decision-making processes on closing interstates here? You go to Iowa, they have the gates to shut down over an on-ramp, if you will. From Wisconsin, the same thing. How do you do that?
Well, typically we use our available snow plows. Obviously, we coordinate with our partners in ISP, with the National Guard, and we use whatever tools we have available to shut down the entrance ramps or to shut down the interstate itself, wherever we think it should be shut down.
We have, sorry, I just
Yeah,
want to
go
say, we
ahead.
have activated the National Guard in part for personnel, in part because they've got heavy equipment, including Humvees, which are augmenting the 1,800 vehicles.
Right.
And what's the threshold to make that decision?
What's the threshold?
Yeah, what's the threshold to say Interstate 74?
Obviously, if it is a blackout condition, we would want to shut it down. We will always have to coordinate with the state police. So sometimes you have to do it immediately based on the condition as you see it. If you have that kind of intensity of snow and you are approaching the 18 inches, 20 inches, obviously it's not passable, and that's when you might want to shut it down and let your equipment and let your own personnel get in there and clean it out and make it passable.
Is COVID-19 impacting any staffing levels in various departments that are deploying resources?
Great question. Just like any big agency, we have seen that in various yards, but not to extend that is going to hold us back. Like I said, we have plenty of staff and plenty of equipment, and we're gonna be working 24/7, by the way, on 2 shifts, and we're going to be able to rotate our staff where they could rest up and come back and plow, and hopefully, by the tail end of this week, we are going to be in a better position to open everything up.
Governor, don't tell me it's a law because you could just do it yourself over iPhone or by writing a note. During this public safety crisis, why is it so important to be live giving the State of the State address and budget address in person tomorrow?
Well, it is the law. It's actually written into the law that seems important to me. And we're prepared to do it. We want to make sure that the message gets out to people. We're delivering the budget, and that's a very official act, delivering the budget to the legislature. We want to make sure they have every opportunity, and I think the budget address should be given at the same time the budget is delivered.
This is also right around the 2-year mark of the start of the pandemic, the start of your disaster declaration, and emergency powers. Colorado's Democratic governor said a little bit back that the pandemic is still here, but the emergency is over. I wonder, can you describe your philosophy on when the executive should throttle back that emergency power?
Well, I think you saw that we had yet another variant that ripped through our state, and you saw that the Midwest actually was plagued with this, literally, figuratively. Every one of the surrounding states around us in terrible condition. We actually weathered it as well or better than most, and it's because we've kept in place a mask requirement for not only in schools with adults and kids, but also indoors. And again, I want to get rid of the masks as fast as we can when it is feasible to keep people safe. And you've seen, I'm very pleased to say, the declining numbers of people going into the hospital every day. It's really plummeting, which I'm thrilled about. I know you've heard about subvariants and other things, but as far as I'm concerned, you know, the better our hospitalization numbers look, the better all the other numbers will look, the more likely it is that we can move to different mitigations or you know, remove mitigations altogether.
I guess one question there, though, is like, what stops you, for example, from using similar executive power to address a disaster of gun violence or to address crime in that way? What stops you from applying executive power like that?
Well, I've treated the gun violence and criminal activity as a significantly dangerous and urgent matter, and indeed that's why we've deployed so many resources to try to help particularly local governments across the state that have local police departments that are on the front lines. And then, of course, we've rebuilt and are rebuilding the state police in Illinois to a great degree. And I'm, you know, continuing to look at everything that we can do to address problems like that. You don't need to declare a state of emergency for everything as long as you are treating it with great urgency.
Is there any consideration of educating towards some of the bills that senators from the Republican Party have introduced, targeting crime, enhancing some sentences, and I think creating more grant funding for certain programs?
Sure. We'll look at anything that we think will help address the problem of rising crime. That's something that we'll look at, but you know, I will say that I think we've got significant investments in this budget that address the challenges that municipalities are having with crime.